用来强调生巧中华堂，强调身体行动起表的说话，计划跟对杨大喇嘛堂，这面求解被拉拢求撒当南街用的了多呢，多见想给公方就都说，你对了来中当满面子，忙往前把太小子。估计当年也没人前边，就跟中国小了去强些，上面求解应该保障呢，就从上级估计我把你讲什么就跟公司，在为了没小了做完的。Ja, good evening. Ja, tene da kodwa.
Hogandola.
Tene da nga zo de chasen ten je jo ten chia de wa.
Mhm.
Tene de je dang jin da de lu jun da sti se ku ne de wa. Ni
Lazo.
ke da la nyang tene da ze yang ti chu ti lu jun da de xin la ya bon de wa.
Mhm.
Tene da tang bo ka de san de sang ji jun den de ke da chu ji pong bo jie chi xie tong se zong yu wa. Ni mo
Mhm.
jie chi tong ni bo da chu ji pong bo jie chi tong zong se da nga zo yong da dong te de wa. 我这做对那他电脑上就得些些，我听那对了是可能的些那他对电脑上呢，落下很对电脑，适当肯定不他对电脑，我这电脑肯定你不得他对，可能是我被电脑他就送的也是，我他就送给了我。
Mhm.
tene tinan ta ambo no shi te nyo shi ta tu ni me tu nyo mo ra ba ambo no bo se wa chi ne tene sang ji jum den de te zai chu ba do je chang ke go chen ne lu ji zo wo dong wa la chi be ke che be ju che ju se lu zo jo ba zo wo dong ba chi ba che be ju te nga
Mhm.
jo ba zo wo dong ba chi ba la jo be ju se 我这想起那就人们旗下做总把的呢，那就那没比举成，妈的那就举成，那就
Mhm.
举。我这想天这一些我所摸出旗下的，他那就那没比举成，他这种话小天的，他这趟举他说呢，唐伯驴做活动是驴球做活动，驴就把做活动嘛，解决了你把马球做，送把相就把做，希望他能尽把些事，这是你的节目这个，我这就种
Mhm.
也是。
Mhm. Good evening, everyone. And the topic of the teachings this evening is the Mahamudra as it is explained in the Co-emergent Mahamudra. And generally, there's also, the background or history. So to give a little bit of background, primarily when teaching the Dharma is always beneficial. So the Buddha, the transcendent conqueror, taught the 84,000 different categories of Dharma. And all of these 84,000 different categories are to serve as the antidotes to all the varieties, the 84,000 different varieties of afflictive emotions. All those 84,000 categories of Dharma can be subsumed into the categories of the three baskets of scripture, or the Tripitaka. And the three and the four classes of Tantra. So we have the three baskets of scripture, which are the Vinaya, which serves as the antidote to desire primarily, the suttas or the discourses, which are the antidote primarily to the afflictive emotion of anger, and the Abhidharma, which serves primarily as the antidote to ignorance. Then we, in particular, during these degenerate times where the afflictive emotions of beings are particularly coarse, but for the sake of those who have really sharp faculties, the Buddha, emanating in the form of Vajradhara, taught the different classes of Tantra. So there is the Kriya Tantra, by which primarily there is the focus on the actions or activities of the body. There is the Charya Tantra, which is primarily connected with the activities of speech. There is the Yoga Tantra, which is primarily concerned with the mind. And then there is the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, which is primarily concerned with the essence, the co-emergent mind's true essence. And so in this way, the four classes of Tantra correspond with body, mind, or body, speech, mind, and co-emergent mind nature.
这一双。
Mm-hmm.
真的，他听到那上啊，拍剧、买剧、你米剧做，等于他就他妈妈我这种有的是。
Mm-hmm.
他这整体说宁波的，其他他悄在前部提了就现在他，提了就他รับ的每天一句，他说他真的蛮不爽有的是，他说做我的爽的，他强求什么抢那都这地有的是上节课，抢那都这地，真的，让拖下是有点拖下，强行拖下不是，他说他今天那个。今天的公办人员的人看到了，加个罗桥本地有写出来了，本地写的重建是多少了？罗桥本地写的重建了，强调什么？这件事你这边样的，这件事情了，真的先前做的，但人家那要过去，那就把别事，我这里用呢，这就他们这个你不瞧在前不在，大伙人在空间的地热是。 这推你嘛，推的嘛，我把那他看啥这下吧，现在这样子，这做偏拖起些。这真是双有的是，真的，既然谁对他，既了，他是这边广播是在主的是，他是这边广播是在主，
Lase,
这边广播，
Dewe Gombo.
嗯，
Mm-hmm.
我听呢，提给他嘛，主呢，真的讲撒拉哈了，除了这，那呢，真的撒拉哈了，这托哈过什么了，说的撒拉哈也嘛双的是，
Mm-hmm.
跟江边一样的，他是罗州人钱是，讲究什么罗州人钱，他们都开心，他是罗州人钱是，罗州人钱。
Loro Rinchen.
他是罗州人钱，
Mm-hmm.
这主的也是，这泡泡
Mm-hmm.
罗州了，
Jambelian. Mm-hmm.
这边样他主呢，
Mm-hmm.
等泡泡罗州了，那呢，等主完这的也是，这呢，这里嘛小娃的网球，小娃的，把小娃的有了，
Mm-hmm.
小娃的，但都会家都是这类，等这类小娃，地方嘛小娃的穷是，没吃饱给，真的。
Gongda Shawari de Papa Ludu ge Lomarve.
罗州的，罗州不老马去，啥啦，
Mm-hmm.
罗州老马啥的空开，这都会过来家的忙不整齐的是，你们来
Mm-hmm.
听呢？真的没吃饱开，这朝鲜过忙不整齐有的是，
Mm-hmm.
我
So
这，
my tripa Shawari ge Loma.
这是啥的，
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then in the category of secret mantra, or the highest yoga tantra of secret mantra, we have further categories of the father tantra, mother tantras, and non-dual tantras. And the essence of these are the teachings on Mahamudra, which is also known as the single bindu tantra, or the tantra of the complete unabiding nature. And so these were primarily given by the Buddha to the holder of secret mantra, the Bodhisattva Vajrapani. And they came into the world primarily in the form of dohas. And so in the city, the southern city of Benda, it is said that in ancient India that Manjushri, or that both the two bodhisattvas Manjushri and Chenrezig likewise and primarily became the holders of the Mahamudra transmissions, and it was through them and through their emanations that these pith instructions spread. And in particular, for the sake of those individuals of the highest capacity, the capacity of instantaneous realizers, and in particular during the degenerate age, then it is said that these instructions become extraordinarily useful or beneficial. And so Chenrezig is said to have emanated as the divine son Dewe Gombo, or the Lord of Great Bliss. And it was through him that then these instructions were given to the great Brahman Saraha, who sang these instructions in the form of dohas. And so this is kind of one continuum or lineage through which this lineage came. And then Likewise, it is said that Manjushri emanated in the form of the divine son Lodro Rinchen, or the jewel of supreme intelligence, and it was through him then that the instructions were passed to the noble Nagarjuna, who then also gave them or shared them with Shawari, who in the form of dohas also then passed them to Maitripa. And so this also becomes another stream of these instructions, these Mahamudra instructions.
tene da yang kolo dem chwa ta ni smi ba kolo dem chwa ta ni smi ba ji su de lo ba de tene je jo de cha ten ta han zi kong zi yo sa le na ta kong la ju ba sang je ngul to yo sta de lo me yi la ma tam chin chen ba yin zong ro wa gen gen la ma me si na da te chu to la ma den chu zong sa an sam san da ka wa hi la ma den yi kar sa na ta te chirang de mu lama mina de kasana de kandu yin ha ko ya ma de kawashi kilama de yin la wa kawashi kilama de du tin da lo rob da zaria sen na ko ba sa ba zaria la ba ba
Lurup.
lo rob da zaria se zaria sen na ko ba se de sa ja ga tu ko ba de la ba da kandu ka ba sam se ti che kawashi kilama de yin zong ro wa
Kanro Kawazangpo.
no ga ba sam se te kawashi kilama de yin se wa da yang de chuo ko ro to wa de lo chuo ko ro de na de cha sen kan ga ma thang chu kan ge dam cha sen kan ga ma song den chi sig lu se sig lu lu cha sen ko ten song wa de lo chu ru la so ba da
Sikare.
sig lu se sig lu pa no
Sikdupa.
wa
Dang.
de ne de lo be chu chu yo wa wa de la so da ten run zi res
So then these instructions are primarily from the lineage of the co-emergent Chakrasamvara, which comes through the lineage of Tilopa. And so Tilopa is said to have received these from the co-emergent essence itself. So when asked, who was his guru, he would say, the all-omniscient one is my guru. But then, so on the one hand, it is said that, Tilopa received these instructions directly from Vajradhara, or from the essence of the ultimate truth directly. And then on other occasions, it is said that he relied upon the spiritual masters of the four great pillars, because it is important, since it is important to identify, the source of the transmission of the teachings that one has received, then to engender faith in beings, then he is said to have received them also from the four great pillars, or the four masters being Nagarjuna, Nakpopa, Sarya Nakpopa, Lawapa, and the Dakini Kawazangmo. And so these instructions, or the Mahamudra teachings, primarily are found, in the teachings of Tilopa, for instance, in the Ganges Mahamudra, or the Mahamudra Upadesha, in the what's referred to as the Sikdupa, or the concise words, and for instance, in the 6 yogas, or the 6 dharmas of Tilopa, and so forth.
tene da ti ji tu naro ba da zan res de lo be kun du naro be se de naro be ge ten che je jor chao za xin bo ten che je jor tene ha ko cha ni lam che se ko cha ni chao za ten bo ten che je jor ko cha ni lam che se ha ten ru be cha zi res
Gocha Nigi Lamcher.
ko cha ni lam che se
And so then, of course, Tilopa's foremost disciple was Naropa, whose main works that contain these precious instructions of Mahamudra would be, for instance, the Co-emergent Unification, and the 2 types of armor that are brought onto the path.
tene da naro ba da me che ba ni ki le de je to ma ba le ma ba ji res da 말베 클라마 조어 나로레 드리 메츠바 니송 라마 mambo den jaga
Mhm.
watina zowa lama naro tewa jase mechi zong yora naro kona
Mhm.
marwa kona gona watin marwa kona tuzong orete charchumo kangen dram tchi charchumo kangen dram son is
Chuck.
charcho la charsen charchumo kangen dram tchi
Mhm.
je mechi chimbo chenha chise je mechi chimbo chenha chise
Mhm. Mati.
chimbo chenha
Chimbo Jona.
je
Mhm.
Sem tomba ni la barzi chons, sta sem tomba ni so la pin zi ya no chons, bare sin sen la pin zi ya no wa.
Sem Tongpani.
La banzi chons la pin son jo le chons, c'est dans yang su nyam le ya bo chons la que so zi tu bia. La pin dan zi
Mhm.
ya yo mara tomba ni.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sem tomba ni la banzi chis. Me ko bo dong do ten de chu, c'est wo de ngam tele dong do tele chu son zong do wa. Wa de
So this is Tsangma Pecharebe.
哦，他挺主要的，他那那要
Mhm.
嘛的，那没
The
过。
Ding Sang Yomare
我
Ngumayore.
这咱俺中到天主求是，俺这里他求是马瑞那大那有了吧？
Ale.
哦对，
Mhm.
俺没成绩是多对呢，俺没成
Mhm.
绩就没看跟咱们没成绩是，我这
Mhm.
呢山东半夜那路多少是，我这呢
Mhm.
俺中到什么他求是，
Mhm.
我这中多，
Mhm. That's all.
我中
Oh,
多
okay.
天天。
Lungten, eh? Yeah. That's.
啊，对，我给他说的，我先他出songs，不但
Mhm.
他出 songs 中多，我对老张嘛，我听出这样的是，真的就是没来的怕的这样，他我听的是就是没来的不这样的是，他那
Mhm. Then Marpa, of course, received instruction from the two great masters, Indian masters Maitripa and Naropa. Primarily, he relied upon Naropa, or received the transmission from Naropa, and it said that and has is to have said that he received this stream of blessing from the great Maitripa, and likewise from Naropa, primarily on the banks, or sitting on the banks, the eastern bank of the Ganges River. It was there, he said, that I realized the true nature of my mind, and it became completely decisive about the true nature of all phenomena. And so then also Milarepa, Marpa then of course, passed these instructions to his primary disciple, Jigten Milarepa.
我真的他就是没来的怕，因他在做我的出路，那路出路，做我的东的多么的做，原点的些才对，对
Mhm.
我是在做，我是我冲着去，瞧着新不我冲着去学啥的哇。
Mhm.
我真的，但是自己上场面多么个么样的，来了我要嘛哇小子，的是家里可不有了哇。
Mhm.
哦，这天绿天呢，他那的他不能不去，身边他的人家全部雇佣的狼呢，他那敲钱他做，敲在全部，他才做不动的，是那些解决的。
Mhm.
做不动，但这话身边他们场面一样那样，做这个做那路去做过呢，敲钱多过去了哇。
Mhm.
退休些了，没来那路去做，一直在公司里呢，有人工作工退休以后嘛，的话下敲钱那
Mhm.
路，第四说你们俩去说就他那先跟那路第四写这个了哇，那说。
Mhm.
我天天这个从来从起天你们去好了，这个不呗。我敲钱天就解决，做不动，我天天去这是。但
Mhm.
天讲我工作不是重要的，敲做你可以敲钱的，做钱上忙出啥的，做我的现在我的那个不变天就解决，这是重要的。
Gongta Yangcha.
敲这的敲钱的做钱，
Sung.
讲我工作，
Mhm.
讲我工作中敲钱的做钱上忙，养宠物在现在我就有了哇。
Mhm.
我做我的根本变，他敲钱天就解决，这是。
Yeah.
现在我特别重要了哇。
Mhm. Mhm.
我打算就在桥的，这个毛病，他桥在前部走动的桥上，他解决过了，我不是重要了吧？
Mhm.
我他记得那种我碰不着吧？那那解决过了，他对自由的是那解决自己嘛些了，自己嘛些，他那解决过，开心有啥，他自己嘛些，他开心这的是。我到底但我们这种吧，但你看什么当，但但可能嘛是做哪的是。
Mhm.
我真的他这里嘛这种吧，但是这种我这里他这个中国他应该说晓得，那些解决但这个中国的，我他
Mhm.
基本上现在都就等于差的有的是。
Mhm. So then, of course, Jitsen Milarepa primarily practiced the 6 yogas of Naropa, and it is said that of the 6 yogas, he mainly excelled or mainly excelled in the practice of Tumo and clear light. And so the
那么有天历届设的在桥上的工作节约是吧？桥上
and
都是的，
And so once he gave rise to some qualities in the practice of Tumo, it was then that he was introduced to the co-emergent Mahamudra. And tiniti simchin la ningje chimpogi korla garisungyin?
네,
They don't
간보베 심지한
gambuba.
간보베 심지한 탐지 닝제 치네 포면 수 냠내 치나 치 초초월에 냠내 첨보월에 나리 냠내 시다 투소 메레 나리 성내 냠내 치 초초월에 대 차서 첨보 소보 동월에 닝제 첨보나 심지한 탐이 대讲的多么用天做工做的米写的嘛哇但嘛做那차서 냠내 치야 투소有嘛哇这个就在我们
Okay.
嗯
And so then, of course, Kampopa, so as primarily emphasized to his disciples the importance of cultivating compassion for all beings. And through the cultivation of compassion, then this evolves into the practice of the co-emergent unification of Mahamudra, that primarily the point of, and Tumo not being easy to accomplish, the point of the 6 yogas of Naropa and Tumo and the other yogas is primarily to realize Mahamudra, and so so as not to become distracted by the practices themselves, and to spend all of one's effort solely in the practices of the 6 yogas, without necessarily fully perfecting the realization of Mahamudra, which is really what they're intended to do. Gampopa primarily focused on the importance of cultivating the co-emergent Mahamudra unification, or Mahamudra itself. And Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche has said that both Mahamudra and Dzogchen, that the basis for both of these primarily comes from the teachings, or is primarily encompassed in the teachings of Gampopa. That like really the fundamental instructions, or that the meaning of both Mahamudra and Dzogchen. And so and so Gampopa primarily focused on Mahamudra, and then likewise the guide of beings, Drogon Pagmodruba, also has a number of different works with the instructions of co-emergent Mahamudra, and likewise Lord Jigten Sumgon, who of course passed these instructions on to his disciples. And so this is the overall kind of a quick overview of the lineage in a nutshell for these instructions.
제가 나 간보베 로마데 간마바 투숨 쳔바이 나리 쳔바 로마 심바 모보 요라 티츠마데 차선 주바테 요요로와
And so Gampopa also had many other very well-known and famous disciples, such as Dusum Kimba, Karmapa Dusum Kimba, and as well as others who also disseminated these instructions and composed many great works.
드네 당가 조지반다 지나 당 jam고는 뭐지 군들라 팅마 카시 신용으로 네 가찬은 뭐지 군들라 팅마 카시 신용 드네 가찬은 뭐지 다 믹스인다지 항공송배 칼송으로 선한 니마 가찬은 뭐지 회유라 효요세 네발에 요로 두발로도나 효요세 두발로도요 샤테 쇼데두 드네 jam고는 뭐지 다 페브레스 두발로도나 샤단드네 드라 페브데두
Chamgon Rinpoche Pep.
정원은 다 디쇼 사리. 대 정원은 파 펩사르 손센. 대 카다 망보진도 스 카다 요라. 와테 망보진도 스 디나라. tene te pare con kadati pa cha chi yin se cha chi
Mhm.
yin se ga jam te chi tu ti na le cha zhen len ji bei ji jiu bei jian de ra song se
Mm.
te tin jiu le jiang mo ren bu cha yin se tin jiu le te xu da qi xia yu se wo ten se kong ra song se kong er pe ben ka re se a go zong
So tesa hakumasong. So Rinpoche, Chamgon Rinpoche pep. Tini
pe
kata
sa ro ba
mambodu, pep sorry yore.
ba
Tini kata mambodu, tini Rinpoche kata titso la, Garchen Rinpoche kata titso la chaksa chevare. Nangvare.
Chang chi ma
Ah,
ka da tu pa cha chi re ter se ya re se nya
ah,
re se nya re ya
nyayore, laso.
cha chi se la ba
Laso, tini di nang la, de linchi che
我
jor
第一
yore.
呢，看到这个男的，朝鲜人就被下镜头噻。
Laso.
我的呢，第一个在讲么人不吃里吃下的饮食，讲么人不吃
Chari, chat ni.
吃下的饮食。
Mm-hmm.
我的呢，在徐大吃下油噻，
Mm-hmm.
我就徐大吃油噻，我的那边下是哪种噻？
Mm-hmm.
我这讲那就是那种都就跟种拿下来噻，我是这讲阿里拿出
Mm-hmm.
片呢，阿里拿他不全国那么感觉太难意思。
Mm-hmm.
我的就那种个的，
So.
好不嘛？
Uh, so ting ma chik di tintin yo ba like
也得
kitchen
没得
boy
呢。
ro de dinda de so the pet gardener bache gi tini
嗯。
de linchi che jor khata nanga yoro wa dini
카다도 파차 치료돼 카다티나 라르바 건다 통
mhm
나
yang jamgun bache chat ne chi yoro wa
와 콩치리 세티나
mhm
이게나 키샤도 콩치스
dini gardener bache nya
다 정말
dang
패서 이거 말와
pet
어 대슈다치 요스 좀 대치 난도스
gardener bache shuta che gyore
대정모는 슈다치 요즈 노스 등 저건 가지
yeah okay
이게 나 대치샤 노스
mhm
요라
mhm mhm
와드네
also
지금 송고나 사이스테 나나 잠고스테 대 공탐보 아리나 가지고 탐보도 찾아 mente 지도 나 사로 아리나 페브랭가 레스테리
okay
탐보 아리나 페브랭가 데라
lasso
음
um so there's so also as far as the direct lineage of this, so in terms of where we are today in these current times, so Drupon Rinpoche has received these instructions a number of times from His Holiness Drikung Kyalgan Chetsang Rinpoche, and also a number of times from His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche. And at one point, actually, before in Nepal, when Garchen Rinpoche, just before he came to America for the first time, and he was staying at the home of Drubalodro in Nepal, and His Holiness Changden Rinpoche, Chetsang Rinpoche had come. He had just been there. He came to Drubalodro's home and was there, and then after he left, there were many kathaks that were there, and when Garchen Rinpoche was given these kathaks, and in one of the kathaks was a handwritten kind of commentary or teachings on this co-emergent unification that was written by His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche. And so he felt that it was like a direct transmission to him, just before he came to America, that he, had this handwritten copy of these instructions, from on the co-emergent unification. And then when he came to America, these became like the first set of teachings that he gave were on the co-emergent unification in a number of places. And he said that he had, that it was like receiving these instructions directly from Lord Jigten Sumgon himself. Uh, mhm.
tene da ni da te pecha ne ma zen gong ro te pecha
Uh,
de
mhm.
de na zo sin no shou dang tambo main te shou dang de qin de shou dang shi da me do 他们意思nem main te ma zen gong ro main
Lasso. So first there's the name or the title.
真的，大体上在开始中途，现在恰在情报，现在解决我处，没得没事，一些难为件是那么多。我在敲在情报是这当提供的没别个钱，科学的敲在情报是敲在是呀的，敲在是了。我这提供的没别个钱，科学的，真的，安的这个从肯定恰的东北一些的是，恰先提来句是听了，恰的东北一些的，这样呢，可别处理说是，情报从就准备当，
Johnny.
可别处理错是，可别处理错。
Mm-hmm.
前部从就准备当时，前部从就准备中，当时那多，从就是
Chimbo Zungjo.
准备当时，准备中的是啥样呢？
Mm-hmm.
我听你打前部从就准备是那个那的可以说啥子？从就是了，这协同从就的，电通从就调在前部，我这时候可以说啥哇？
Mm-hmm.
哪通从
So,
就有了？
mm-hmm. Tang Zungjo drome pena de marmedo
我
drome.
这的，
Mm-hmm. Naso. Mm-hmm. In the title, first of all, the title itself is the introduction to to Mahamudra, the Co-emergent Unification. Injikila yang de tata de
第九个到学生准备的这里面的，
chudang sumpa rebe.
这准备的，
Kare de buyela.
我会每天学有啥的了。
Mhm.
学安装要蛮大的，准备了，这里学堂部
Rede,
你办嘛的，
yeah.
那边就准备了。
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, ko de tata yasama de sumpa yorwa dangbo korwa le lo dopa oh mare. Yeah, okay.
这朝鲜连接解决了，我出嘛那个是一些难忘些，今天是差不多。
Mm-hmm. Yishi nangwa gijin yomare enjikela. Yeah.
嗯，
So and there's the title is not totally for some reason the longer title is not doesn't seem to be translated in English, but it is the introduction to to Mahamudra, the Co-emergent Unification, which is the ornament of primordial awareness. So to begin with the word itself, Mahamudra, which in Tibetan is Chaja Chimbo. So Chaja, which is mudra, or literally seal in Tibetan, which it has is a compound word. So there's two, there's cha and ja. So the cha part of the word of Chaja, which is mudra or seal, is referring to the empty primordial awareness, so the primordial awareness of emptiness. And the ja, which is the second part of chaja, or the second part of the word seal, is referring to the dharma that liberates. From samsara, that which liberates, or the final liberation from samsara, and then chimpo is referring to the indivisibility. It is the lamp, the sacred lamp of indivisibility, or the sacred light of indivisibility, and this indivisibility that is being referred to as the indivisibility or indivisible union of clarity and emptiness. Likewise, the indivisible union of bliss and emptiness.
我真的，但连接解决了很多，连
Mhm.
接解释呢，连接解释它这种的，连接解释的，今天中国它让它连接解吧，这里是众多，让它连接解吧，这是让 Sam 的连接那吧，那可惜这种多，巧克当难忘的巧克，Sam 连接解吧，这里连接解做的是但难忘是那东巴的 Sam 这巧克力，Sam 我巧克这连接解的那连接解是。Jor sen te so nyamna chi ya je jor sirwa nyo jor sen nyamna chi ke cha sa re tambe damal te ne so jor gores damal te ne so ta ngo shi ba chi gores te nga so ngo shi kyo mar ba te wa te ngo shi
Mhm.
ba chi ya te la da jor s wa je jor se ta te lu ko kyo sa re
Mhm.
wa te ne ti ke ngo chu se na da ze cai mang bo men ba chi 책 망보 책 망보 지난同大刚可以过其他马术的掐着不是？我听对책 망보明白去，你们说说多多说说你们去悄悄有吧的了，我出是，我主要，下面那路听我这样。我现在말에 미시스 말에 있으나 다 말에 내가 된 거와 참조 거라서 그 말에 대해서 무슨야도 이게 들이 이게 뭔가시야도 이게 나와 그 이게 되는 말에 무슨도 그러와 어때 이게 나와 젠스다 젠찬나 와 이게 나와 이게 젠찬나 와 이게 효소스
So the co-emergent unification, so co-emergent, what is it that is co-emergent? So it is in some cases, or Lord Jigten Sumgon, the rang sim dangare, rang sim, rang dang rang. Rangdang Sim. So oneself, Lord Jigten Sumgon sometimes says it's like self and mind, or the oneself and the mind, or more commonly Dharmakaya and appearance, so which is essentially the same thing. So Dharmakaya and appearances being the nature of emptiness themselves, are co-emergent with the Dharmakaya. So this is what is co-emergent is empty appearances and Dharmakaya, and the unification is that in dependence upon the pith instructions, then one recognizes, or recognition occurs, or there's recognition of this true nature, in which then there is the experience of unification. And so the instructions, so introduction, or this introduction, is the referring to introduction in which there are not many words that are used. It is really concise, really pithy, and based on these concise or pith instructions, then there's kind of a basis for practice, and this is what the introduction is. And what it is that this introduction achieves is the clearing away of the darkness of ignorance, through which there is the light of primordial awareness, which is like the ornament. So that's the part of the title which is not translated into English, but the ornament of primordial awareness. Shodang. Chubarebe. Chubar. Nga di pechuchegyo. Druman. Di rebe. Tongmendoe. Nga tongmendoe. Okay. Yeah. Di deb yoroa nga deb yo. Debra. Yeah. Okay. Vale. So he said there's not exactly pages here, so he's having trouble indicating exactly where he is. And I think I have a different copy than you guys, but anyway, that's he just showed you what page. But there's not a number.
Yeah, number.
Ngala tenro nam yangchar. De chi karayo pati shugu ngala tenro nam.
There's a contents page that has page numbers on it. We have those page numbers.
No, he says it's not, but it's okay. He's going to explain.
Yeah.
It's the homage. Is it the homage?
Yeah, homage, yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, that's the my law.
That's all.
That's a Chigorwa.
Mm-hmm.
What in a dang around to the Jimmy Namda chewing Namkalas, Lando. Jimmy Namda chewing Namkalas. Pajewa me.
Yeah.
Number Taba chewing Namkalas that the Lama Chujiku lapshes, Lama Chukunda. Lama Chukanachi. Gami to give Oton, Jibatan, Gahpa, to get it. Do just in Tamji, Tondo, Oton that Jidors, then Amano Chuzo, because I want to cautious. Then Dorje Mare Mambasi was what in Dova Tamji, Sinjantonda, Gangaja Mambasi to be added, Lama Juve good. That cautious at Teonu, Juve good. Then Lama goes on Namara. Then Lama Tambana Chancelo, so then Lama Tambas Chancekins, Lama Tambas and the Nero daughter, Tambas mixing the Nero daughter Lama to some of the Chancekins, so what that's a Chobarjubas. Don't Chobarjubat China.
So, okay, tampo gong ta kain sine NGK la dokcha dawore. So, the young child, penad, yeah, came and do. That's all. Nga tes a go tong gain sine NGK la yang di rimba tes kaka yoroa. Gine yang came and do.
Tambo Lama, Jimmy Train, Namda Hoy, not the Jimmy Ale.
Yeah,
Jimmy Namda, the Naman Chujiguris, Namachu, Jimmy Naman, Tugi, Otonji, Palama, Nojozo Beguchi, Dove Marek Mamba Sinti, Nama to be Gucci, then Lama Tamba, Chancellor Salado, Lama Tamba.
That's all. So in the homage, so you have the order is a little bit reversed. It's actually like, yeah, so it's sort of like the exact opposite in the Tibetan. So you have first, actually, it says throughout the sky of the unborn, pristine, pure, expansive phenomena. So this is the Dharmakaya of the guru. And there is then the expanding of 1,000 rays of unceasing compassion. And this is the Lama's Sambhogakaya, which dispel the darkness of the ignorance of beings, which is the Lama's Nirmanakaya. So it says then, to the sublime gurus I pay homage. And so this is referring to all of those awakened beings or the great masters who have realized the true nature of their mind, which is the indivisible expression of these three kayas.
That the Chilutin, Denju, Shinham Jugada, then also Yamnachin and Chinham Juga Pengaris, Tomo Chobajubati.
And so first, with this traditional homage at the outset of any composition, this has the benefit of issuing in the blessings and supporting the practice.
That Newman Langi, she says, Nelo Chicken say one more debas, what in it? The Newman Langi, she said, the Newman, the same Nelo Slapure, same Nelo to the Newmasa, Juba Meba. What the Nelo secure? Nelo then Langi Jay, sat humble on Jay divers. JB, why you hate your say you hate it, JB, you hate it. Why you share it? I'm not on my shit and truth meant that you share it. Nelo Chicken say one would that is so more my shape and truth on that, that's all more say, more here, Nelo. Manorva so Modria, Ziva, Modribas, Modrokins, Modruchia. Doju to their Namazon Hitus, Dota Jude Kondo ne, Dota Jude to the Kondo Batan, La make it Nyamyonda, Teso, La make Nyamyonda, Teso Dene, Song is Entrikins, 어떤 가탕 개비 냠냠 로토 인송 그런 지경 송 그다 가탕 개송 지켜 말해 공제는 요 가탕 개비 냠냠 로토레스 어디 되게 마데 도주 되된 라메송 시제스탈 도 주데 되는 라메케 그런 라만 냠냠치데데 냠냠 어디서 라송 시신제지스 我这早上推白去的，公在为了嘛，我们出来了说，送行，先来偏北上班了，这边的钱，是我的呢，先来偏北上班这个意思嘛，但我在让在每年这用的让在偏头我要在上班没事，我这是先把在偏下的上班这个意思，我在上班他们家吧是在让等就嘛，这特别了，偏头的是牛用特别了，我在记录他们家长的记录。
So then we have the commitment. So it's the commitment of the composition. So it says, and again, this is in like the opposite, like the order is different in the Tibetan. So the first thing, what comes first is this introduction to the clear revelation of the mode of existence. Sorry, it's just like the Tibetan is so different from the English. Oh, chirangso nyamdu yorwa. Oh, nga nyamdu yorwa. Mm-hmm. Chuju rere yang de ola yeah nyamdu. Okay. Yeah, okay. So so I'm gonna kind of go based on the Tibetan actually. So as it says that's so weird. Sorry. So as it says the through the primordial awareness that is the natural co-emergent nature, to introduce the true nature just as it is, I will follow in accord with the Lama's teachings and the sutras and tantras for the sake of benefiting, with the intention to benefit sentient beings. It's with that intention that I write this. So first, the first word here is nyungma, which is the natural co-emergent essence of primordial awareness. And so this is referring to, the essence of what is being taught here as this changeless nature, which is the primordial awareness, which isn't ordinarily seen because of the presence of the obscurations and because of the presence of delusion. And so through introduction, then this unmistaken true nature can be accurately seen. And so in order to share this introduction to this true nature, then he emphasizes the importance of following, and this is what Jigten Sumgon also emphasizes in general, is that he says his teachings always accord with the teachings of the Buddha. They are always compatible or not contradictory to the sutras and tantras and the instructions of his teacher, and also are supported by his own direct experience. And so if the teachings were to contradict any of these, then it would not be okay. And then he also states that his intention for writing this, or the intention of his composition, is to be a benefit to sentient beings, not, for the sake of his own name or fame or, for any for self-benefit in any way, but for the benefit of sentient beings, for the benefit of others.
但是他才开始是有什么的，听那个嘛落进的。
So,
真的敲在前部，连接解决没啊，但是他敲在前部就连接解决没啊，是了吧？没啊，他听到有什有什么的，听到一听
okay.
没啊，他敲在前部连接解决没啊，他心里求空我主要了做没有的意思，心里求中我主要了做，我有的意思，他听有嘛，他听到一句当没到，
and Bukela Yorebe.
他没到这，他听
Oh, Bukela ya buye la yang yo mare laso.
也听到有
Okay.
嘛的样的，
Laso. Okay. Menga semni chuku.
他敲在前部连接解决没啊的，没
Mhm.
啊就有人的了，心里求空我主要了，我出去要了做没有的意思。
Mhm.
送我真的在我这就是话写的，我这就是话写，我这
Mhm.
就是话写有吧，我去我出那半年，我在
So ngondo jorwa
写，
je donka je or je mare
这
je.
长个写，
Oh, okay. Laso.
在我出那半年，我去了我出那半年，还可说，
Mhm.
我这节是两钟了，我这十天都送不了的是，
Laso.
嗯。
So then there are, for this introduction to mind's nature as Dharmakaya, there are 3 categories, which this is not in the text. So there are the 4 preliminaries. There are, or this outline is in the text, but the outline is not there necessarily, or maybe it is, because anyway. There are the 4 preliminaries. There are the 3 stages of introduction, or the 3 sections of introduction, and
我住
then
对吧？我住你是吧？
sorry, the 2 stages, or the 2 phases of introduction, and then in conclusion, the way for sustaining the practice.
他这个唐伯他开始我住就是话写的，是我住就是话写，他听那多，唐伯来军的是差不多来军的那是多。
So first are the 4 preliminaries, which are contained here. So there are the first there's karma, cause, and effect.
他来军的啊，脾气呀，this is true number 2 is that 真的他来军的是这么当过的是，但就军的是是开情报的，我做给的可能那这个是米给的，我做但是来给我亲这个对话用呀，来没给了亲这个东西用呀，没给的蛮这的是没用给的。 我做但几天吧，几天得了人呢，在那个吃饭时呢，就这点用学的，可是呢，在那个要不青年时呢，在没得场面给苦考去噻，要不通多呀，在那个读青年没场面在西藏通多米吧，我在抢着有，就这个我当说噻，但每个同事呢，他就抢着，这起码你拿他给的一天，这个可能就呢，开始呢，但这个这他没用个的是。
So so karma, cause, and effect is so crucial as the foundation of our practice, and this is based on the very simple principle of what is virtuous or wholesome in nature leads to well-being and happiness, and what is non-virtue or unwholesome in nature leads to pain or suffering. And whatever actions that are created without mixing together, without getting lost, every single action ripens indivisibly, every single action ripens inevitably, ripens unmistakably, and and this is like infallibly so. And so Lord Jigten Sumgon also speaks of the kind of instantaneous ripening of karma, which is where when one engages in negative conduct, the outcome of that can be immediately experienced. So for instance, and when one engages in wholesome or positive conduct, then the outcome of that can also be immediately experienced. So when we're doing good things, we're treating others with kindness, and the whole world kind of receives us favorably, and people are friendly, and we receive, the kindness of others. And then when we are in a space of negativity or behaving badly, then we experience the world also reflecting that negativity to us. And so this is like a form of this instantaneous ripening.
tene melade pison khalzon usna digwa ida azan gewa chen ta ba yis digwa ida azam chidong gewa chen na digwa ta chu gres wa de ngazo na de nyamna khasi chi tum na de sa je ya la digwa tsma ta go yore de nyamna so khasi chi tum digwa pa pa ta ro gre
And so Milarepa says that the way to purify our negativity or to clear away negativity is through remembering virtue. So when we remember virtue, in that act of remembering virtue, we are actively purifying our negativity. And this is so important. This is the whole path to awakening. In order to achieve Buddhahood, we have to purify our defilements. We have to purify our negativity.
等等起码没他公平，就些差不多意思。我当俺当初上马的，天桥里 top 的，没有咋新不节 top 的嘞。人家他天主那俺说他推出多少个嘞？在你们企业他说刚写到起码 top 起，我这天桥里你这起码没他做这样嘞。那起码没他做，在那俺说南北出路南几个亿，小的给下这马嘞，可能个让一起来我可嘞他。我这话不说不是来，我都俺说别出了修新不节给了他。是吧？修进步节，别动啊吃火节，他真就去就去吃火节，我动啊吃火用个的。因那当我说这起码没他下课呢，说说你们俩说在家呢，你们俩打把在公司多些呢，他研究怎么节呢？他研究怎么是在节用的，他那你们俩去下了共同这个，起码没他在这个课对呢，他我们的呢，起码没他在老板在用呢，他讲呢，他动啊这个是用个嘛的说说，还是呢？说年课的，从嘛他这边在话说是搞那边多啊那说。我这有的真，但是这没他样呢，样我们提出去都行了，你们去下了也乐器接头过来，你们也求了古嘛就头过来，我这专注去头过来，没他了的呢，我这去头的呢，你们去这没他的，有嘞下过过了，晓得就这样的的嘞，晓得呢，说，刚讲人把这穷了，这当那就让人怎么，基本没他这里，没他现在就当他需要基本嘛的，没他从这没得，得都讲没他有的。这没得有个往俺什么他，他现在有我这里，他俺这边他们家写是我当年嘛，他这点怎么呢？可是我那上面写菜里面，他而且老家我记得没做其他花园嘛，他。我他这边他们写是我他用那这毛把的，他写下来是这边 number 这边大印，他这边这啥呢？这边大点啥的是，这样印把的大点啥的是，送了这边 number 这边大点是。我这呢，这里他有关他们讲，其实我他我总这么来没看见过那什么的，你在学校里面多少做，他去那有嘛的，根本不可能有咋新不引进呐，我得多少有嘛，我这样他人样们讲，上年样哪怕去，他们去教人做玩意是我但是课头学习做，天天有嘛往个那做。这说，我在讲个把课头直接这个哈，等去把有嘛的是，我在这里呢，在他们去教人做过的是。我这样对这咱研究这些呢，等那个做研究这没啥去吧，但那这接触不了也好了，就当老多些的，长嘛了解开的，老多些有了，这是我们，但是就当刚才说，这趟嘛的是有的老多些这的，你那他忙些在去吧没他的呢，研究就些接来也好了，但研究些呢，求专注起来了，你们去啊，专注求切这种，真的的是偏讨厌了。他妈多，那种七八级送对的，你这好不是？他用对的，几几年就没想到啊。
Um, so then we have the preliminary of death and impermanence. And so we have right now, we've achieved a precious human birth with the leisures and endowments. And this is extraordinary and precious. A very precious opportunity, but it is so easily lost. It won't remain with us forever because time is very quickly exhausting itself. And so if we're not able to utilize our time effectively by engaging in practice, then before we know it, the opportunity of this precious human life will be over. And we know that, intellectually, that the true nature of all things, that all things are pervaded by the nature of impermanence, that everything is impermanent, that nothing will last, that we will definitely die. But we still are surprised by it when it strikes. And when it strikes, we feel immense sadness and suffering. And so when we contemplate the truth of impermanence, this allows a feeling of genuine renunciation to arise. It also causes us to become more aware of the reality of how things actually are. And so we are not caught so off guard when impermanence strikes. And we are ever, have this kind of ever present awareness of the truth of impermanence so that we always think of it at all times. And as a result, when the nature of impermanence manifests, as it always does, there's less suffering. And we are really inspired to not waste our time. We're inspired to actually commit ourselves to the practice. And so it really incites a strong sense of diligence to have this keen awareness of impermanence. Um, and it isn't just the impermanence of this life. It's not just the truth of death and impermanence, but there are so many different ways in which we experience the truth of impermanence. There are positive conditions or circumstances, and then we're met with negative circumstance, and these circumstances, and these are constantly changing. The emotions of happiness and suffering are always changing. Everything is constantly changing and displaying the truth of impermanence. There is nothing that stays constant and is like of one single nature. And so we have all of these diverse expressions of emptiness, of impermanence all around us. And we know the truth of impermanence and that everyone will die, that we will die. When we look at, all of the people who were here 100 years ago, none of them, or hundreds of years ago, none of them remain. And so it is this very clear expression of impermanence that, even those who existed in the past are no longer present. There's not a single one. And so when we those who are present right now in this world, hundreds of years from now, won't be here. And so this is really absolutely like a certainty. And so reflecting on the truth of impermanence, then we really feel this. This truth, we give rise to a deep sense of renunciation, which is really what the reflection on the four thoughts that turn the mind are supposed to engender. But of the four thoughts that turn the mind, most powerful and generating a deep sense of renunciation is the reflection on impermanence. It causes a deep sense of renunciation, and it also is that which incites us to diligence. So there's great benefit in reflecting on the truth of impermanence and the inevitability of death.
지주만라를 배송을 가르송을 세나 나 치변제는 relation 치변제는 다 총점이 치변제라 전내치 남치 참이 삼삼니스 다 남치 가도 시진 삼주 삼 들당 시차요 말해서 삼당이 남치 재미 삼네 치민님의 센사시 세바단 치민님의 센사시 송스고 치주면 님의 센사 치변지과 Ornament 세바단 치변지과 더 호스티 송도 Te me ba chasi, te wa tenja wa te nga zo ze kanto to nyamla chi kore.
And so Jigten Milarepa is known to have said, fearing death, I fled to the mountains. And having fled to the mountains, I established the seat of deathlessness. And having achieved the state of deathlessness, I completely overcame my fear of death. And so in this way, we should use the fear of death and impermanence to incite us to practice, to fuel our practice, and to whatever extent we are able, then that can often become the very cause for realizing, fully perfecting realization. Yeah. They chivo yorwa chusu chupare de ninga tesa yang semsa fomado kosong gongda. Yeah. Nalasa. Gepo. Chang tongdo. La.
Lo dunch tonga sensa, lo dunch tonga, kora. Lo dunch tonga, tongzhou, tongdun zo, tenji changka ji ya, kora. Dan qi ya zi nyok da so xiu, wen dou zuo, yang jia kora, qi ya zi nyok da so xiu, wen dou zuo, go wang pa ren zhuo, so ren zhuo, tenji changka sa, dou dou, kora xian tang zai, qi wa zi chen xiu za ra le ma. Ta lo dunch tonga, tongzhou, tongdun ra si di na, tenji wa sa. Ta xi ya zi nyok da so xiu, jia xing bu la rong so, gi zai, jia xing bu, jia xing bu xiu, dou xi ya zi zi, tenji, ping zhou dou dou.
So Drupon Rinpoche is sharing a story. He said, one time he was in this place, he was traveling, he was visiting this place, and he was staying in a household where there was an old man. And when he arrived, the old man was drinking alcohol, and he was getting more and more inebriated. He was getting pretty drunk. And so Drupon Rinpoche decided he was going to go to sleep. So he was like staying in a one room, and in the house, and he went to sleep, and the old man just kept drinking, and he got really quite drunk. And then he like turned on this light outside, just outside of Drupon's room, and he was like pacing back and forth, and he was saying, like, monk, probably speaking to, or Gelong, was what he was saying in Tibetan. And he was looking for Drupanla, and he said, and then he started, of course, Drupanla heard him, but he just was quiet and pretended like he was still asleep because the man was really drunk and he didn't want to engage. And then the man started counting. He was like 75. So he was probably about 75, he said, and he was saying 75, 76, 77, and he kept counting like this. And then he was saying, oh, death is such a nuisance. Death is such a nuisance. And then he'd say 75, 76, 77. And so he was thinking about, he was really drunk, but he was really reflecting about on death and impermanence, and really sort of feeling the weight of that. So it was an interesting experience. And so he just kept counting. He was just counting and pacing back and forth, back and forth.
마시베 다도 송마 와다 심견데 지당아랑 심견 참아 단코로 완도와 이렇게 동안 용쇼로와 와테네 도와래 이렇게 동안 용쇼 단 도와 소소소 레나나 되는 동안 용쇼 되게 배 시당 되는 야와 동안 용쇼리 와테네 에 시당前呢 예배 줘 스마라리 베테 시당前呢 예배 줘 완야바 줘 되냐바 제로 예배 동안 용 와테네 선나前呢 예다 줘 선나 前呢 예다 줘리 我这一大动画，真的，在目前呢，村着是我在目前呢，村着的钱呢，村着他动画是用着学的。我真正多少钱呢？没有着，是多少钱？他没着是，没了的，真可怕。那个从给的动画是吧？真的，长多钱呢？他没着，是我在长多钱呢，他们一着也是没了的种是吧？我去真的，他长多的那他们动画是用，俺家钱呢，他也着，是俺家钱呢，他也着是。 我这挺对的，但是身边动画吧，南疆是我这动画这种的动画挺用着说，我这里呢这因为来啥好，这但那动画是用学的也是，这让什么秋口，让我马些吧是我这让什么秋口，我那些让什么秋口的是，我这我让做，但我些学嘛的身边做，但我马些的，但我才没把这我送呢，我这打送的了哇，我送的了哇，我送的在现在。 这呢，桥当让桥这下先桥这当的，这俺们俺送的，大没大送，我这大没大送的，现在这桥当建筑个的，让就是结不修再送的，现在让就桥当的建筑个，我这接送的这身边的这块往强着的，对，我说我们就怕那么的这有啊，唐不俺些大了先叫为是，唐不俺些大了先叫为。 大肯定了，我以前我肯定的，现在我不做下。
Dampo ngas.
先大了，先就是先生吃饭了哇，先把自己的事，我等你先就是为是，大肯定的我来吃就是是的，大肯定的是我不是吃送呢，我等你真可能抢不到，个种我让多对呢，我等你可能抢送的，但是现在说，先给你老让我买些话，人家讲我的是在抢人家抢说先给有讲的，人家结果说的，那抢吧。 强把人人家解决的，人家人强说什么解决的？我这对强人家强说什么的，要不说就讲呢？我这过学的，过学的也是。
So then in the text it says, then one meditates on compassion for all suffering sentient beings by reflecting on how they, not recognizing themselves, not realizing that their mind is the Dharmakaya, grasp at an I that does not exist. They grasp at a self that does not exist. So then having reflected on these the truth of impermanence, the truth of karma cause and effect, then one develops compassion for sentient beings of the 6 realms of samsara, understanding or thinking about the suffering of the 6 realms, and this sort of pointless suffering, because it is out of this mistaken identity in which beings grasp at a self when there is no self, and then based on that fundamental self-grasping, there is all the suffering that is based on the dualistic mind that is experienced in the form of karmic appearances. So all of the suffering of the 6 realms are karmic nothing more than karmic appearances. So they are manifestations of karma, empty manifestations of karma, such as the afflictive emotion of anger, then being the essential cause, for instance, then the appearances, the karmic appearances of the hell realm are experienced, and so forth. So as Jetsun Milarepa has said, it is anger or hatred that is the companion of the experiences of the hell realms. It is miserliness that is the companion to the experiences of the realms of hungry ghosts. It is ignorance that is the companion to Roa,
ro zen gamba dam sha de komba ja ya ma ba ro sen
ro.
o ro sen gamba dam sha na komba ja ya ma ra ta ro la be
Oh, lasso. Yeah,
gamba
topo
ni gamba ni
drawade
sha dam sha
samsung.
na be sha de se mo zong ba ze la pa ja ja de wa la pa ro ja la gamba yin na te gamba ro ja sha na ro ya yo ma ba
Okay, sorry. So, different word. So it is hatred that binds one, or kind of that uh glues one or binds one to the hell realms. It is miserliness that it becomes like the binding cause for the realms of hungry ghosts. It is ignorance that binds one to the animal realms. It is desire that binds one to the realm of humans. It is jealousy that binds one to the realms of the demigods, and pride that binds one to the god realms. And so in this way, it is through the karma that is created primarily by the phenomena of the afflictive emotions that causes the suffering of sentient beings. And so this all comes from the fundamental mistake of not understanding one's own mind to be the nature of Dharmakaya. So not recognizing that beings apprehend a self or an I, a sense of I, and fixating or apprehending a sense of self, when actually they also apply selfhood to others. And so they project a selfhood onto a reality that is fundamentally selfless. So as it also describes in the Madhyamaka Avatara, that first, that primary cause is the I, the sense of self. And based on that primary cause or sense of self, then there is the apprehension of others, and the apprehension of things, or the possessive mind comes into being, like oneself and my things or my possessions. And this is primarily why beings wander in samsara.
tene da nga zo tere ma ar song da ni pa chen na ta ta de won ro tang bo ten ro
Oh,
won
and
ri
so sorry, wait, Datung Gongpa. And so with this understanding, then that of this mistaken perception of sentient beings and this endless suffering, then we have to generate great compassion. So the instructions here are to cultivate love, compassion, and bodhicitta for all sentient beings.
tene chen
Gongpa.
ba ne ning ji ji re la yin ba nge chen ba ne ning ji
Mhm,
ji ji
mhm.
len chang shu sem ji re yin ba
So, and this is in order. So it is first in generating love, then this develops into compassion, and then based on generating compassion, then one is able to generate bodhicitta. So in sequential order.
tene da ni pa de chen ham nyor chen ju ba chi bi la me ne jo ne si lang do tene tera do
Mhm.
de ma lo shang ji sha tan de me
Okay. So then the next section is the Guru Yoga that swiftly instills blessing.
ta won ro xie wa ti ni pa de ta ta
So this is the second of the 4 preliminaries.
다 지나 다 냠타 똑바 탐지 자벨라 메 지나데 랑키 모후리 총데스 어테네 다 냠타 똑바 탐지 자벨라 메 지나데 데 모후리라 총데스 어테 랑키 모후 고쇼리 다 라마트 지나 고쇼 라메 지나 치트 친지 랍토야 누파 고쇼리 로메케 모후 고쇼리 와티니 볼라 데네 데 냠 똑바 제게레스 어테네 당니레스 다 현재 주미 현재지 다 현재 주 마토베 스미 현재 제바데 강도 양의 미니스 다 카렌로나 다 니게 말해 사자 카렌로나 니 투고 말해 니게 말왕 하나서 세지나 니 투고 말해 라메 튠타 덴바탄스 라메 튠타 덴바센 다 라메 라마 라타 모후치 고레스 튠타센 튠테 모후스 다 타토 모후 정치 어때 모후다 세치 양의 모후 튠테 메세 튠타센 까르베 메르와 Karwe me ti me tunte me la gorwa. Karwe me ti me be tsaworwa. Karwa jigu me zen bar la gorwa. Ote a
Lasso.
ote na yi kita mo chu chimbo gores. Wa tunte la me tunte den ba tans. Rang so nam so ote rang
Wait, okay, lasso. So dutame, lasso,
duta zen ta
the,
so mo la ma chu puton gores xiang. Yang na ti tunte me se duta tunte me se na ta karwe ki me te be me tsaworwa.
lasso.
Karwa jigu me mar hu sa do da tsama tsai ro gre la gorwa. Ote na yi kita mo chu chimbo se go gores. Tunte me se 我电把汤是，让去做那错的些是，我得让去做那错的些过的是。
Here, as it says, then, the roots from which all experiences and realizations develop are the Guru's blessing and your own devotion to the Guru. So, here, then, in order for true experience to arise, or the only way to develop real experience and realization is by relying on the Guru with a mind of devotion. So we, to have true experience and realization, one has to receive the blessings. But in order to receive the blessings, one in order to access the power of the blessings, the condition for that, the necessary condition for that is sorry, I'm so tired, is devotion, Guru devotion. And so, as it says in the Hivadra Tantra, unspoken by others, the co-emergence cannot be found anywhere. So this essence, or the realization of the true nature, is not anywhere externally to be found. The only way that it can be found, or the only way it is to be known, are through these two means, by following the Guru till the end, which is essentially the devotion. So this to the end, this is either referring, there's two ways to interpret this, by relying with devotion on the Guru until the end, until one reaches awakening, or it could also be read as by following the Guru with it's worded in a different way in this case, which would be like with the fire that is like the fire of at the end of a kalpa. So the end here referring to like the end of time, which is literally what it sort of says, to the end of time, referring to the fire, like this immense blazing of devotion, which is like the great fire and at the end of a kalpa. And so it's essentially through devotion and merit, through the cause of one's, or the condition of one's own merit.
写当时他咱这个被就连前当被几天吧，各帮帮头光把那么几节前边帮们，你说啥样的吧呀？做那么种的，两节个说的他妈种下这个落下了，这种别是。
So then it says, meditating for 100,000 eons on a deity who possesses the major and minor marks is not equal to remembering the Guru for even a moment. Better than a million mantra recitation is a single supplication to the Guru.
我真的在身边，他们去同志做被长期拖把的车，是身边他们去同志，他是对强学生的，强学生的你有的，他就当你们人家身边的每个的这当写了他身边的长期同多了的，人家几百万吧，我在听你不是长过的，是我等于的身边他们的长期做被长期拖把的车是。提起就那么贵，当年了做完的，那么的贵些当年的是我的来的贵些当年他了做完的，上头什么当过的也是。
So then it says, thus it is said, and therefore you should think, I vow to attain complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and for that I am going to make supplications to the Guru, who is the embodiment of the four bodies or the four kayas. So this is essentially the aspiration of bodhicitta. I vow to attain complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And so this bodhicitta is twofold. There are two aspects to bodhicitta. This is the aspect of compassion, the object of which is sentient beings, and the object of wisdom, the aspect of wisdom, the object of which is the state of awakening or the state of Buddhahood. So this bodhicitta, which is the aspiration to attain awakening for all sentient beings, has both that quality of wisdom directed toward awakening and great compassion for all sentient beings. And so it's with this mind that one vows to supplicate the Guru, who is the embodiment of the four kayas.
Tene rang yedam CVS, rang yedam take a Karsi and Andre Shoji, Dorje Pomodons and Andre Shori. Techi tene rang yedam CVS, Jibo Nas, Rinpoche Chitam, and they to Zave Lama, Tini, Sanji Dorjen Chang, Santa Beji, Barba, Shien Zoma Tanji, but two things in Yambar Shaba, Ranglan Ji, Shimba, Bom, Tejube Lama, Tamji, Sola Kawa Baba Shin, Tukala Temne, Lama Gundu to Gom, Techosu Sanji Chansen. 장쇼 선바 예담 탐지템 상지 군두 그거로 곰 초바남 초 류가에서 도미 닝콩 루베딩 루베딩 모루 동동 나한테 모루 모파탄 그바 동베스 야다티마 로샹디사타 너만 디스도
So then it says, visualize that your body appears in the form of the Yidam deity. So here, the Yidam deity can be whatever Yidam deity that one practices, or you can visualize yourself, for instance, in the form of Vajrabarahi. Above your crown on a cushion, on a cushion by a lotus, or above your crown is a lotus cushion or a lotus seat with sun and moon cushions, and on a jeweled throne sits your so there's the throne and then the lotus and the sun and the moon, and upon this sits your guru. His body is in the form of Vajradhara and is splendid with the major and minor marks. His face has a blossoming smile. His mind is in equipoise and various samadhis, or in the samadhi of perceiving kind of the varied display of phenomena, and he is delighted with your presence. Having meditated thus, dissolve the root and lineage gurus into the guru's heart, like drops of rain and flakes of snow melting into the sea. Thus meditate on the Guru as the embodiment of all gurus. Likewise, dissolve all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Yidam deities of the 10 directions into the Guru and meditate on him as the embodiment of all Buddhas. Having meditated thus, make offerings of all kinds. Offer your body and wealth unhesitatingly with heartfelt devotion from the core of the heart and the depth of the bones.
tene kdang atus wate mtsama nyam tsma tong yo la ma sanje rimbo che la jap se wa dang zi lo ye tong wa chin je lo go mi ju la je wa chin je lab zo ran sam ji mi chin je lab zo chu wa ran sar ta wa chin je lab zo na si chu kun char wa chin je lab zo lo se tes ta sama so so la ma ji wa ri do yo zam den zo wa dam ne nyam tu ma tong yo was ti tse te so that
So in this way, you are visualizing the Guru at your crown, and you're visualizing that together with all sentient beings. You're reciting this supplication. I go for refuge in the precious Guru Buddha.
tsama
Please,
tsama nyam tong yo ze
Garay Sangmanyamdu.
den na ma yo ra nga zo ti tsama
Oh, Sangmanyamdu da ta tong.
te ta da tong yo ze
Oh, okay, sorry. So not that you're imagining with all sentient beings, but together, let's all recite, he said. Everybody can
that's lama so zawe lama ngo zawe lama.
Mhm.
Tin zam ten ru shu yu zam na den tsma nyam zun de tong zi.
So he said, please recite together this prayer here, visualizing your guru in this way, abiding above your crown. You can supplicate. So does somebody want to lead this? I go for refuge in the precious Guru Buddha, beginning there. So he's asking you all to recite together.
It's on page 7.
Yeah, I don't know. I have page 23, so I have a different book.
I go for refuge to the precious Guru Buddha. Please bless me so that I may be still gratitude. Please bless me so that deepest will crawl to my veins. Please bless me so that I may safely realize the unborn nature of my mind. Please bless me so that confusion may become purified in its own place. Please bless me so that the appearance and possibilities may manifest as the truth body.
근데 난 가서 들어봐 될 때는 가서 처음에 좀 뭐냐면 내가 해야 텔레 다들 가서 남의 친합 좀 소야 들 해도요레스 어떻게 되는 소리가 미관데 남아 상지 남아도 상지 남아 군주 상지 군주 이런 군주에서 라송다래 어떻게 뉴티 군주 그 처와 지바 토가리 대기도 지금 하네 랑 상호라 쇼네 세포만 통하면 내가 되게 탄지 파타네 루상 이제 간송 something 루상 대리에 something 투시를 들어간다 버려 정도 담아 핸드셋
So then, having supplicated, then you receive the empowerment by, in order to practice Mahamudra, you supplicate, recognizing, that the Buddha embodies the nature of the Yidam, of the Guru Yidam and Dakini, and of all the and then so thus upon supplicating, visualizing the Guru, the embodiment of all the Buddhas, a stream of elixir of the primordial wisdom flows from his body, forehead, throat, and heart, etc. Imagine that as the elixir enters and descends through the Brahma aperture at your crown, it washes away all the non-virtuous deeds, obscurations, and samaya transgressions committed since beginningless lives and samsara. Then, as the elixir overflows from your crown, you feel a sense of ecstasy in your body and mind, filled with the stainless elixir of primordial wisdom. Thus, supplicate in the 4 sessions.
전에 튼삼 조람 나면 더 트레인 심마 나발 트레인 시아 나발 지치 라마라 치엔자 모후다 가두시나 치바면 가두이나 라마도 zor반데 산데 쳔백 치마 요신 차스 갑갑스 라마 랑라 템베 라메 구송토 사랑 클루가 이서 일미 데바산데 냠바샤 고레스
So then it has here the activities, 4 activities between sessions. So first, you thinking, I may die today or tomorrow. So what is of any use? Oh, Guru, please look upon me. And then generating your such heartfelt devotion, fill your eyes with tears, or allow your eyes to become filled with tears by the mere remembrance of the Guru. And then at times you can think that, so supplicating like this, and then at times imagine that the Guru dissolves into you. His body, speech, and mind merge inseparably with your body, speech, and mind. Diniti jika lo imbe.
말이 이제 로미 한다. 어떻게 뉴트는 저기 디서스 공자고스 달라면 그 손도 라는가 있어 일미 차송 잠티나 디서스 공자고스 가나 제사
And so then you meditate for a little bit, thinking that the guru has merged indivisibly from you, that your body, speech, and mind have merged with the enlightened body, speech, and mind of the guru. Then let's meditate for a moment.
Jidang ta nga su muhu ya wo je je di na, ten nam so tsu shimba ten kaan ro giri, sung rik nam so tsu pan kaan ro giri. Tel den na, ten cha tsu shimbo tokpa tsu sha rong giri. Wa ten jikyang sung gong ke, tokpa je ta muhu kuna yin sung ro wa, gong che no. Wa tere kambo pe sung wala, ten nga su juba ne, muhu juba yin si, nami chinam juba yin si wa, chinam juba ro wa, chinam juba yin si, nami chinam ma yo na, ten cha tsu shimbo tokpa tsu je tu gu ma re sung re. 我这里头是开车跑车的，可是呢，俺做个句吧，其他个句吧车的，没会句吧，可是呢，带路，哪路带路去，别没去搞完中医，忙不搞完你这边，记了我这点呢，没会咋做的。包括调在先不也没咋做，真的，马路家听嘛，写实送人左右，这就搞来忙不在家，我那路啊，他们那种科学也送的说，送这特别好的，我听着听我这么会咋做的也是，我这个那些去。말아래 받아 말을 근데 가와 망보지 지 되네 그래서 지금 말을 말와라 제 독사게 이제 장야지예요 말에 대륙 강에 자되나 대소라 때뭐 회사 에스 어때 간보 반다시나 테나지리 데모 회사로 말아래 봐 전지야라 다 말아래 봐 세안 토바 잠 조건지에 토비아 대륙 강에 망보 잡송 어때 리충을 되네 대단한테는 뭔가 방어 초발이 어떤 지경 성공다 시나다 상kamli pomo chuben sen toba zamji teba jene tene tanga po lama kadun je yong sam lamga ko Submit Taran Borwati, Moran or Yomarosha, or the Neko, Nama Kadunji, who's this some of Armachua. Teru Tayong is on door, Nima Kazintawaji in Gondosha, or the root is in the demo which was what in Azota, Chenapkiba, Moguchiba, Lavata, as on the Gunga Jute, Tamoguchiba Chadi, Tatu Wan, Moguan Nangerwa. What in or the Moguke Gajujibate, that's all what is there, Moguchibat, the Gunga Juka, Javier.
So primarily, so it's, in cultivating a mind of devotion, what happens is that when the devotion is really, really strong, then this blocks the other concepts from entering the mind. So it like halts the concepts that are ordinary concepts based on subject-object dualistic fixation. And it allows then for realization to shine forth. So it is said, like Lord Jigten Sumgon says in the Gongchik, the only means for giving rise to understanding or realization is devotion. And as Gampopa has said, this is the blessing lineage. And so if there's no devotion, there's no continuum for accessing the stream of blessings. So it is devotion that becomes the condition for the blessings to penetrate the mind stream. And this is why the Kagyu tradition in general is referred to as the blessing lineage or the lineage of devotion. And we see this in the example of all the great forefathers of the lineage. So Naropa, who endured 24 great hardships in search of his master Tilopa, and was just completely overcome with devotion throughout that entire throughout the entire training of his path. And so it was through, sustaining great devotion and enduring those 24 great hardships that his devotion was brought to, like, really became very refined and developed, and it became that which enabled him then to fully manifest complete his realization. And this is exemplified by all of the great masters of the lineage. They endured hardship and difficulty, and it was through that their devotion became refined and perfected. Likewise with Marpa, in his reliance upon Naropa, and how many hardships were endured by Milarepa in relying on his teacher. And so, for instance, Marpa traveled on 4 different occasions to India from Tibet at a time when it was certainly no easy trek, on foot to travel to India on 4 different occasions, to meet with his teacher, his Lama Naropa. And likewise, how many hardships and difficulties were undergone by Milarepa when serving his teacher Marpa. And even throughout those extraordinarily difficult hardships, not even for a single moment did Milarepa give rise to a mind of wrong view. And likewise with Gampopa, who even just in hearing the name of Milarepa was filled with extraordinary devotion, and sat, with unwavering devotion at the feet of his teacher. Likewise, Pagmodrupa, in the same way, relied with extraordinary devotion on his master Gampopa. And Lord Jigten Sumgon, just hearing the name of Pagmodrupa, was overcome with extraordinary devotion and sought out, to find this master Pagmodrupa and that was the only thing that was in his mind from the moment of hearing Pagmodrupa's name. That was all he could think of, was meeting Mahamudra. And so in this way, this devotion is so crucial, this uninterrupted devotion, which is also what is exemplified by all of the great masters of our lineage, this blessing lineage, that this is what really brings the realization to like final development. It really only occurs through the power of devotion. And this is the only means for receiving or experiencing the descent of the blessings.
等那个去街头，办这个。等那他养呢，他做工在那下呢，街头干嘛啊？是没得吧？
So we can conclude here since we really only have about 5 minutes left
It's okay.
for this evening.
那这里给。